No, you don't want to go do that. Don't break your body. Don't bust your ass. Don't destroy yourself for a job.
Do you want to work for a living? Like, as if that was a bad thing.
Right, right. And that was preached for a long time before November.
Dude, I don't give a flying fuck about the reason.
Mm-hmm.
You can say it's because space aliens told you to do it. If you get inflation down to 2% or lower,
Right.
I don't care why it happened.
Right. You got me.
You ingested this voluntarily.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And from a local farmer, I tell you what, 0 fucking problems. None. My gut is perfectly fine. I could drink a half a gallon of that shit and it doesn't fucking bother me.
Yeah. Until the fucking tapeworms and all the shit from the unpasteurized milk straight from the cow. I mean, like, having a drink once in a while as a farmer or something, growing up, getting used to it, your body can get used to that shit, man. You can't just start. That's like going to fucking Puerto Rico and just drinking the water every day. Like, I live here now. I'm a fucking local. Are you fucking crazy? Really?
Well, why not?
Fucking dude, the pasteurization process was kind of a big deal when it happened. Like,
It kills everything in the milk.
good and bad. I understand.
Right.
That's the process. Right?
So unpasteurized. So pasteurizing takes out. So pasteurizing takes out the lactase.
okay.
The lactase is what you need in your gut to be able to process milk. That's what
Is this
it's a bacteria.
so? This is why you can have it.
That's why I can have it, because it has it in there.
I'm happy that if you want milk so badly that you now have an avenue to get to that, I will say nice things about you at your eventual funeral.
Hey, if it makes me ungodly sick, the chances are relatively low as long as the farmer is taking all the necessary precautions.
Fair enough.
Everything's clean. The cows are healthy. You know, they're doing what they need to be doing. Yes. Do I understand that bad shit can happen? It's a risk that I'm half willing to take.
Excellent. Sounds like more than half, but I'm still down, man. If you can have dairy and that's what you want.
I just want to be able to drink a glass of fucking milk, have some goddamn Oreos,
Well, listen, I'm
and
sorry.
have a bowl of cereal every now and then.
Sorry I said anything. You're right, man. That's man. A bowl of cereal. You're right. A bowl of cereal is important now and then. Yeah, cookies and milk. I got you. All right, I take it all back. I take it all. But again, if you get the plague or something, man, I'm not gonna fucking feel bad for you.
There is possibilities by all means. The only thing that I can honestly say about it is that he's been drinking it and his kid's been drinking it for a while from the same place. And I'm like,
And again, getting it from a good place, right? Like, look, I could get a bad block of cheese at the grocery store and die of that, right?
right.
Yep, yeah.
Salmonella
I'm being
from
mouthy.
fucking
I'm being mouthy
lettuce.
to be funny now, right? Like, yeah, you can get a coli from broccoli and shit. Like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Another reason we don't eat broccoli in this house, folks.
We eat a lot of broccoli.
No, we do too. I'm just joking. Well, in this
It's the only
economy,
goddamn
man.
vegetable that fucking kids will eat.
Right, but in this economy, how can anybody afford vegetables anymore? Dude,
Fucking tell me about it.
the produce is through the roof, man.
Oh. I saw I don't know if it was satire. I can't believe it's satire because I actually saw it on the video with my own 2 eyes. A gal in Canada. She was at the grocery store. And this speaks to your Canada half. In the grocery store saying, do not fucking buy food in Canada anymore. They're looking at a package of chicken legs. Just the legs.
I know what you're going to say, buddy.
$223. What the actual fuck?
I can't remember exact prices off the top of my head, but when I was there, my brother and I went to golfing with a buddy for one night overnight. We stopped to get some stuff to grill up. We got prepackaged hamburgers and chicken and shit. I mean, it was fucking crazy expensive.
That's fucking stupid. Why?
Oh, man, having a steak. You want to go out and just get a porterhouse, throw on the barbecue, have a couple beer, whatever, right?
Right.
Man, that's a special occasion up there now.
Wow.
And that's not even the worst part, John. The same way that the seafood here sucks for me, because I grew up in a place where the seafood is right there.
Yep.
Our meat isn't really great, fresh, grade A fucking, I mean, you can pay for that, right? But most of our meat is a much lower quality standard-wise than what you just get at a regular grocery store here. So not only are you paying an exorbitant amount of money, it's a lesser product.
Fuck.
I couldn't have a steak back. If I go to a steakhouse, like a restaurant, okay. But I'd never spend the money to buy a steak.
That's fucking insane.
Right. And then every fucking piece of liquor costs you 3 times as much. I mean, look, man, I'm Canadian and all, but there's some things they got to square away up there.
Look, that is one of the reasons why I actually like being where we're at in the country, part of the country we are. It's meat and potatoes. We can get good fucking steaks
Right, yeah. I mean,
at a relatively decent price.
yeah, you want to mix in some vegetables, and you can go to farmers markets, you can go to local places, right? Like you can, obviously you pay a few bucks, right?
Right.
But I mean, yeah, if you want to go that way, you're right. We're in a good part of the country to have access to that if we need it.
Yeah. And I think it's due time that people start actually supporting the local farmers because they're going away.
Well, dude, it's part of the reason we were going to talk about what we talked about today. The economy is affecting everybody.
Right.
And every less farmer, everybody doing an important job, it's going to drive the cost of everything through the roof, and it's already getting to the roof now.
Right.
So,
Right.
well, I guess that's that. That's what we're going to talk about here today, and hopefully not get off on too terrible a rant. But anybody listening know what we're like.
This could go down the fucking rabbit hole real quick.
This could get ugly. Welcome everybody to the I Shower After Work podcast. We're glad you joined us once again today. We're back in the job trail on another Saturday. Cheers, John, to the end of dry January.
Lanza.
We're fucking back, folks. We were back.
Yes.
How are you, John? How was your week, buddy?
It was all right. I had some time off, did some work on the house, made some progress.
Well, progress is always good, man. What were you working on this week with the house?
And it's still that basement, man.
Still that basement.
Still that basement. I mean, for the next fucking 6 months, if you're talking to me, it's going to be the basement.
I kind of knew that was the case. I thought I just wouldn't presume to be a nice guy. Maybe you really got after it. What the fuck do I know?
My wife posted an Instagram story. She was helping me out. My lovely wife was.
You were telling me that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, she was running the saw and stuff like that. And it was kind of funny because the reel that she posted on Instagram didn't have me in it. You couldn't see me. So everybody's all like, "Where's your husband?" I'm like, yeah, I was there in the background barking orders.
It's nice that people knew at least that you'd be there.
Hmm.
What if they
They're
presume you
wondering
weren't
if
like,
I wasn't.
right? Yeah. How come? Yeah. How come you have to do that? John can't do that. Like they could have went a totally different way with that, man.
Right.
No, I'm glad to hear that she was helping you. Obviously, we're behind everybody working the trades here. That includes at home.
Yep.
Almost excessively more than we'd hoped for at home. But
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. But that ties into the conversation today with the economy and how it feels, the current state, how it feels as a field guy.
Yes.
It doesn't feel too good.
No, there's a lot of that going around, and feel is a good way to start because there's going to be a little bit of numbers today, but I'm kind of staying away from that a bit because you can get lost in the numbers of things. We're going to talk about why here in a little while here.
Yeah.
So yeah, how things feel out there. How are they feeling to you? You're still working with the fellas and the gals day to day.
It doesn't feel all that fucking great. I can tell you that much. I think, when COVID hit, I was telling everybody, hey, we're going to be fine through COVID. It's the back wave that's going to kick us right in the fucking teeth. And I think we're now seeing that back wave. Things are slowing down. I'm not hearing good things from some of the contractors out there, but, and some are doing really, really, really well and keeping busy. But if the economy keeps going the way that it's going, I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Oh my God, yes. I also mean it's also been worse.
Right.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's been worse. There's depressions and stuff, real live depressions.
Real life. We haven't gone through anything as bad as it's been.
I hope that things aren't so far gone that we're heading in that direction again. I promise not to be gloom and doom today. I'm trying to be realistic today.
Yeah, I don't think we'll hit a 2008 kind of recession. I think it's going to get close. I don't think it'll be quite as bad,
Well,
or at least I fucking hope.
man, that's right. I hope you're right in this particular case, buddy. Like everything else, I mean, you guys talk about it day to day, and we've all had the conversations before that. Supply chain continues to be a problem. The amount of labor still continues to be a problem.
Right.
And I hate using the words post-COVID, but it was the cause,
Yeah.
amongst other factors, right? It was the real kick in the teeth to start the way we're going, and it's not been a great direction.
I ran across something that actually interested me because I didn't realize what was going on, because for electrical gear, we're having a lot of hard times with electrical gear and transformers and stuff like that. I did come across an article that actually was saying something that I didn't ever think about. The new demand for data centers across the country
Through the roof.
is playing a huge part in that because they take so much gear and so much power to actually run. I didn't even connect those two. I never did. I'm like, oh, that shit makes sense because we're getting just for a meter can. And I shit you not, when it comes to lead times, I recently ordered a 13 terminal CT cans, just the meter sockets, a meter socket for the CT can, right? 13 terminal, very basic, very simple. The supply house told me that originally when I placed the order in November, they told me January 15th. I checked in at the beginning of January just to make sure we're on time. They reinstated that to June of 2025.
What?
Yeah, June of 2025 for a Millbank fucking 13 terminal CT can or 13 terminal meter socket.
Right. So everybody listening, not in the trade, pretty common part.
Fucking simple.
We're not talking about something that's rare.
Right.
By any means.
June of 2025. I'm like, I called the supply house. I'm like, dude, we cannot function like that. That's not how this shit works.
And it's a real short leap from there to we either charge exorbitant prices for things to see who will pay it, or you just wait in line like everybody else and they don't jump the price and everything takes forever to get.
Right.
Either option is a shit show.
Yeah, it's fucking bad.
Yeah, that concerns me quite a bit, man. I've seen a few cases of things that have been surprisingly longer than I expected.
Right.
Ones that mattered, that pushed a project that could have employed a few people for a couple weeks back.
Gotcha.
Now, I know that doesn't sound like much, but that's what we're getting at here. That's happening all over.
Yep.
And yes, okay, this job got pushed back. It's only a couple weeks, X, Y. Not too long before there's a whole bunch of those. And now you're talking about hundreds and thousands of hours, working hours.
We've had projects dump off completely.
Yeah, lots
Cancel
of that
out.
going too. Yeah, lots.
We've had projects pumped out by a month. Like what are we supposed to? You and I in the field, we're very much on the tail end of the problem.
Yes,
right?
we are.
So the problem starts way ahead of us, right? It starts with investors and planning and, that part that we're not going to really get into. But at the tail end, we're on the back end of that going, okay, so what does that mean for my job? For my employment, for my bills that, hey, people still want their fucking money.
Of course.
Right.
Like, what can I say to that? Yes, of course. That's true. Yeah. I don't know that there's any way to get the people in our part of construction off the tail end because we are the tail end of construction.
Yep.
We're the last process.
Yep.
Building the structure.
We're the doers.
Right. I mean, anything that affects money spent for projects or how much a project costs, material, labor, parts, whatever,
right.
As those things go up, that's at the start of the line when they're figuring that out. Like,
really is.
The downstream is always going to be what kicks us in the butt. And here's where it really drives home for me is the fact that downstream effect is now keeping us from getting new people into these careers, which is going to compound this problem
right.
going forward. And I think it already is. It's my unpopular opinion for today. I wanted to make sure I got it in early before I forgot, okay? I think that problem is happening right now. And let me tell you why real quick, okay? Now, we all know the internet is a tough place to navigate, so anytime we give you numbers here, we tried to back them up as much as we could, but you can look at one thing on the internet and get 50 answers. Everybody
right.
Remember that, right? 1 in 5 construction workers right now is 55 or older.
That's tough.
It was 45 2018. Yep. That's better.
Yep.
Man,
and 10 years before that, it was 35.
We're losing Gen X and the last of the boomers so fast.
Yep.
We don't have a way to replace them because the last great group of people that we had, I mean, we're still getting great people, but I mean like a healthy amount of people trying to get into the trades happened a couple of years before COVID dropped on us. And all those people who were going to be good apprentices and journeymen and construction workers had to go and find another job because there was no hours and no projects for apprentices for a couple of years. And they fucked off and found another job. And who can blame them?
Yeah.
And from what I can tell, I mean, obviously companies and unions and, learning schools tried to do something as the thing was happening. But what could they do? There was no way to create more work.
Right. People are just, well, that goes both ways too. It's a deeper conversation because for so long, we created this issue of, no, you don't want to go do that. Don't break your body. Don't
Right.
bust your ass. Don't destroy yourself for a job.
Do you want to work for a living? Like as if that was a bad thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that was preached for a long time. I even told it to my kids. And now I have all girls. And so I'm like, hey, don't fucking do what I do. Please do something with your brain, do something smarter.
Right.
And, be happy with what you're doing.
Right.
So I think if I would have had sons, I probably would have preached the trades a little bit more, but
I know it shouldn't be that way, but that's a decision you made. So it is what it is, right? Yeah.
right.
A lot of people still feel the same. Like we're not saying that it's only men in the trades. Certainly it's not, right?
It's not,
but
for sure.
you're just talking about your daughters. as
Just
a
my daughters.
father.
Yeah.
So, said many times, I don't have kids, but I get it, man. I get it. There's some radical things that people have suggested to solve this, and some of them have really backfired. So and if you want to if you're not familiar with this, folks, look this up: the Build America and Build America Act.
Buy American.
Buy America Act. Listen, I like the intent of anything that makes North America, and I always say that because I include Canada, stronger locally. Local.
But this doesn't affect Canada.
But this doesn't affect Canada. This is an American thing specifically, right? If you're not familiar with this, folks, look into it. It makes sense in theory.
I had to do
Oh,
that.
yeah, no, yeah. It's obviously, man. Yeah, you got to make a little noise again. How are you supposed to open a bottle without making some noise, folks?
Right.
But yeah, this act is good in theory, but it's causing just the kind of problems, or has the potential to cause just the kind of problems we were talking about of front-end loading issues for cost and labor
Right.
that are just going to tumble down and make the construction worker end of it worse.
So I was looking into that because I'd never heard about this until you brought it up. And I'm happy you brought it up because I was able to do some digging. I'm sorry, I'm moving away from the mic, trying to pour myself more whiskey here.
It's all good, man.
So from what I could tell with the Build America, Buy America Act, so that was put into place for infrastructure projects.
Correct.
Government backed,
Federally funded. Yes, that is true. That's an important point. Thank you.
And just like anything that has any part of America's government in it, and I'm going to dog the government right now, the problem that they're running into now is all of the bureaucratic bullshit for turning in waivers because they're saying, hey, if the idea and the intent is to buy things created, built in America for America's projects. Right. That's the whole idea. And thank God for that.
Yeah, I like the intent of what they're getting at here.
Right.
Yes. Let me be clear.
But then they also have a part in there saying, but realistically, if you can't, or if the price is too high, like exorbitant amount too high, or it pushes out the project because of supply problems, then you have the ability to outsource for that product.
If they approve the waiver.
The waiver,
right.
That's the problem. So you have to submit a waiver, and then they have to review the waiver, and then they have to give you a yes or no. And some of these waivers are taking 2 years before the committee gets back.
Correct. And if the program is successful, and when I say successful in this case, I mean starts to take off where companies are not trying to get as many waivers through so that they can do their projects faster.
Right.
They're not going to do that, are they?
Right. No, they're going to just do it because they can't. Construction cannot take that long. You can't wait for 2 fucking years for an approval for a product.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. Nobody's going to do it.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, we started this project. We have a timeline.
Right. Yeah, it's not the highway, right? Where it's perpetual. Like,
right.
Yeah, we need the building that we want to invest in, but we need the building built.
Well, since it's infrastructure problem, it is roadways, bridges, it's power,
right.
It's
but
utility.
That's what I mean. But no longer can one of those projects take so long because now with this act, things are going to cost them more most of the time unless they get one of these waivers,
Right.
and it's going to make those projects have to be done quicker.
Right.
And now we fall right back to less hours again instantaneously. That's one step.
Yep.
And that's assuming they get the waiver
Right. Right. If they get approval.
after X number of months, maybe years.
So there's been like 4 or 5 different agencies, construction agencies, that are going to the government saying, hey, if this is what you want to do, that's fine. We're okay with it. But you need to simplify and speed up the waiver process.
Absolutely.
Either hire people to take care of the waivers or just simplify the process for approval. No committee, no bullshit. Just one-on-one. Hey, this person gets it, reads it, approves it, denies it.
Right.
That's all it is.
And may I recommend maybe take half of those thousands of people that the IRS hired last year or the year before.
Oh, fuck.
Let's just transfer half of those people over. And also, if you're not familiar with that, folks, look into that number,
Oh, God.
because it doesn't take that many people to investigate the taxes of the top 1% of the country.
Right.
Those people are to go after everybody else to nickel and dime the rest of us to make some more money. But anyways, we're
Right.
not a political
Yeah,
podcast.
exactly.
I'm not getting off on a rant. Sorry, folks.
Stay away from that.
But interesting. If you're interested, look into that. That's happening right now.
Right.
But back on task here, buddy. Let's look at what I think are the 3 really key things here, and you tell me if I'm missing any. There's supply chain issues still. There's labor shortages, and then there's programs like this, good and bad. I'm not saying this is a bad program, that are affecting construction one way or the other as far as funding and where you can buy materials, etc. So I see those 3 things are the main issues, without getting into inflation and things like that. Let's
Right.
not get into the weeds here, okay? I'm talking
Right.
from a construction perspective. Does
Right.
that sound fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. I would say that at our level, I don't know what we could do to affect the supply chain issues.
We can't. We can't. As construction workers in the field, we are just merely affected by all of it. We are just affected. There's nothing. We have no control over it.
Right.
None.
Yeah, like,
And-
look, I know my shop, for instance, and I'm sure lots of other businesses, not just electrical shops, not just construction even, when they know that they can get a hold of something that we commonly use, they'll buy up a bunch and
Yep.
stockpile a little of things that could slow things down unnecessarily. They're trying to do that. So that's about all, though, right?
Yeah, that's it. But that's not something you and I have control over.
No, certainly not. But I mean, that's a step up. I mean, that's the first people in the shop, the people making the decisions. Like, I get that can help, but I mean, yeah, what are we going to do? Like,
Right. I mean, there is stuff that we can do as far as, being out in the field, being foreman in the field. Like, when a project starts, you usually do what's called the takeoff, and that's plumbers, HVAC, electrical. They all do it. We all do takeoffs. Well, you know what? Maybe you need to start doing more than just a takeoff. Maybe you should start looking at the entire project, trying to outguess your own stupidity, and start buying all that shit for 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road.
Right.
So that at least you have it.
and create not the atmosphere, but just the word I'm looking for, Don, I'm here in a minute. Getting the people who work for you to understand, hey, things just don't go in the dumpster. Some
Right.
sort of way everyone is communicating. That should be easy with technology. Listen, my job's finishing up. Here's a vague list of the stuff I got. Can anybody, that sort of thing. Right?
Yep.
Us communicating with one another. If we develop that within the companies we're working for, that will certainly help too. Again, we kind of have a centralized location. I've talked before that we have that prefab shop.
Yep.
We're encouraged to take our extra stuff back there.
Yep.
That thing, those sort of things are happening.
My shop has always done that.
Right.
They'll bring in returns from a project, and then they'll start sending it out to people.
See, perfect. That's
being
what you
like,
got to
hey,
do. Okay.
You got an order for a bag of wire nuts? We've got it here. Take this.
See, that's
Shit
probably
like that.
always been a company idea for smart companies, not just recently with Fay
No,
things. I'm sure that
that's
was
been
always
that.
the way.
Yeah, that's been that since I've been in the trades.
Right. Yeah. I just may have not been in the position to see what was happening at the shop earlier in my career. I might
You
just
just didn't care.
yeah. Well, or more so, I just didn't care.
I mean,
Did I ever throw any new box, anything in the dumpster? No. The end of a job that last day?
No.
That all went back to the proper source.
Exactly.
So anyways, that's the first one of them. The second one, the labor force. I mean, that's what our podcast is about, buddy. We're trying to help with that. We're doing our part. Like,
Yeah, well, we're trying.
the shortage is, it sounds like a gigantic number. So what I found was, and numbers varied slightly, but about 8 million people are in the construction industry in the United States.
Roughly.
Roughly, give or take, right?
Yep.
We're not getting into the weeds on that, right?
Yep.
And we still, according to the Associated General Contractors of America, are short by over 500,000 that we need right now, on top of who we already have.
Right.
And that doesn't factor in the people retiring. It
And-
only talks about people who are in the trade now.
In the trades.
They don't say, oh yeah, so many of those are going to go in the next 10 years.
In December of 2023, there was 374,000 job openings in the construction trades in the country.
That's slightly less than 10% of the population.
Right. And
1%, pardon me, 1%.
the fantastic, it was actually down, right? It improved. So it was down 4.1% from December of January 2022.
That's moving in the right direction.
Right.
Oh, I like to hear that.
Right. But it's still, I mean, it's still 374,000 job openings.
That's bleak.
Right.
Oh my God, that's a big number.
That's ungodly huge.
Right.
Right.
And I think that number is only going to get worse before it gets better. Just for the reasons we've talked about many times. They're not promoting this at the right levels of school. Most
No.
parents aren't encouraging it. Like, we're not getting any support.
No.
Right? I think they're going to have to come up with some pretty radical ideas to change this. And I mean, stuff that people will not like. You know, like I had a crazy thought. Like, as an immigrant to this country, sometimes my brain will think a little different because I wasn't born and raised here.
Sure.
I love the United States, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
I am an expat after all. I mean, like, what do? Do you start telling people like, hey, if you work for 4 years, you get citizenship? Like, again, it's a crazy statement, right? But how many?
But still.
But how many more? Just in this case, again, folks, I don't think this is just a crazy thought that passed through my mind. I thought I'd say it just to make people react or laugh or whatever. I don't
And
believe it.
Have the documented hours? I do. I'd be okay with
would
that.
some people then be documented versus what they always call now undocumented, which I have no problem with immigrants. Again, I am one. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying, can we get some radical idea like this that could help? Probably.
Yeah.
But how do we get a country divided behind that? These days, man, like,
I don't know, man.
we got to
I don't
convince
know.
people not in construction and not in the trades to start worrying about what's happened with the state of the construction industry. They don't care now.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They'll care when they don't have a building to work in or a house to live in. or-
Right. But it's, in my
roads to
opinion,
drive
it's
on.
too late by then.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And the things that
it's
do
way too late by
and the things that do get done are start to become priority versus non-priority stuff. And you're going to be surprised out there, folks. If you're a non-construction worker, you work in an office or something, and if you do, good on you. We're happy you're listening. If you just work in a regular office where you do the paperwork and the HR for some company XYZ, if it's that or getting the power grid back up in southeast Minneapolis, your
Right.
your building is not a priority.
No.
That company, if you're not one of the big gigantic companies, like, and they get priority.
Yep.
It's real quick when those things start to happen, and when that happens, I mean, God, then, like, I can only work so many hours in a day.
Right.
You can pay for overtime all you want, but
Yeah. And you know, when we were planning this podcast episode, I was trying to be optimistic when I was doing my research. And I did a lot of research.
I just do, buddy.
Right. So I was trying to find things that make me feel better about the state of my job.
Did everything you find kind of slowly moved you in a negative direction from when you started?
I had to stop.
Yeah, that's basically what I got to, man. Yes. Like,
And seeing expected outlooks and stuff like that. Now outlooks are just guesses, right?
Right.
So trying to, and we've said it before on this podcast, you can find supporting arguments for anything you want on the internet, right?
If you look long enough, you will find what you agree with.
Right, exactly. And some things, I took notes of some things, and the things that I like to see is I found a place, and they're saying that that the material costs are expected to still increase from 2 to 6%. Employee wages are still expected to increase to 3 to 5%, with the total cost expected to rise by 2 to 4%. Now, that is including the fact of we're still hoping that the government brings inflation back down to 2% by the end of the year,
Hoping.
end of 2024.
Hoping.
That's what we're hoping to see.
Right. And again, not a political podcast, folks, but in a year when they're also going to be trying to figure out who's the next president and focused on campaigning. But go ahead, buddy.
Right. And
sorry to step on.
Nope. And that still ties into everything that we deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even though we want to stay away from the political side of things, we're still affected by, oh, hey, I want to make myself look good. I'm going to bring inflation down before November.
Dude, I don't give a flying fuck about the reason.
Mm-hmm.
You can say it's because space aliens told you to do it. If you get inflation down to 2% or lower, I don't care why it happened.
Right. And that's what they're trying to shoot for, but who knows if that's actually going to happen, right? But I also did want to bring in Canada here, right? We love the North America side of things, and we love globally. I'd really like to hear what problems are out there globally. If you're running,
I'm working on getting a Canadian guest on.
Right.
I'm working on it.
If we're seeing global, if they're having the same problem in other countries, right?
Right.
Canada, I can look up and we can relatively see pretty easily, but the material costs are expected to increase in Canada 3 to 5%, and wages expected to increase 4 to 6%. So they'll have a total expected cost of 3 to 6% increase, right, in 2024.
Right. You can say that's a small number, but that's the profit margins for some projects.
Right. And I think if we look at both countries, Canada and US, right, we're in the North America side of things, we're still, I'd like to think that Canada's buying a lot of the same products we are.
Certainly.
Right.
A lot of the same, right?
So if things keep going up with and I wanted to come back full circle here where I was going with what you said, the lack of new guys getting into the trades, new guys and gals, right? With the lack of new hires, that's going to drive our wages up because there's less of us.
Correct.
Right. Which is good, but at the same time, we're pretty fucking expensive.
It's not even a matter of expensive. It's the fact that there becomes at some point a price point where the majority of people who want to hire your particular trade consider your cost now expensive.
Right.
That's that tumble down effect of everything.
Right.
It only pays for us in sort of a mildly selfish, probably short-term gain.
Right.
And in a perfect world, costs didn't have to go up too much. We got an inflation raise or whatever every year, like a reasonable increase.
Yep.
It still doesn't replace years and decades of experience of the people who are retiring, who have not had the chance to teach those skills to a new generation.
And I think I was just going to touch on that point. I'm happy you brought it up. I'm seeing it more and more and more, and I wish it would actually stop. We're getting guys retiring that have been working by themselves. They have been running things by themselves. They've got nobody to teach them. They've got nobody to pass that knowledge down to them. They're not taking what I consider to be at least 2 years to pass some of that freaking knowledge on. And
that's a reasonable number, my friend.
And 2 years of working side by side with somebody, right? Because you're going to be running off of so many different aspects. And I think that's where guys need to, and I wish companies would start doing that. Just taking just drop the ice in there, man. Don't be pussyfooting with it.
Yeah, I was trying to be
Just
nice.
don't
I don't know
be
why I was doing
like, what the hell are you doing?
I suppose you
He's
really
all
cared.
gently trying to place his ice in his glass
I was trying not to make any noise, though. You're right.
and finish that bottle off.
Yeah, I just realized that. Sorry to cut your thought there, man.
But-
Yes.
Great
podcasting, folks.
I really want to see. I want to see that change, but I'm not in a position to make that change. All I can say is, being on our podcast, I hope somebody in the executive side of things takes that to heart and actually does something with it.
I believe a lot of them are aware, and I think a lot of companies probably make an effort to do that. It just, and again, I promise, I'm not going to be gloom and doom this episode. I really am not. That requires the extra time and cost of one journeyman teaching an apprentice. We know that costs more. It slows the journeyman down a little to take the time to teach, which is important. I'm not saying it's not. Then also the cost of the apprentice itself and the fact that the work took a little longer. It's an important investment, but when you're starting to cut corners, a couple less apprentices, okay.
Yep.
Like, I'm not accusing companies of doing that. That's a common sense financial decision.
Yep.
It just doesn't work out well for us teaching a new generation and keeping apprentices because they stay employed.
Right. And I hate the fucking attitude behind some journeymen that I've seen of, why would I teach my apprentice? Why would I teach my replacement?
We've talked about it before.
Like, you son of a
It's a
bitch.
fucking shitty attitude.
Yeah, fuck off.
It's a real shitty attitude. And you hear it. I mean, we hear it all the time. I'm sure it happens
All
in
the
every
time.
trade, buddy.
Yep.
Every trade. Yeah, it's... if you don't mind, man, I just realized I'd like to double back on something that we got away from awful
Oh,
quick there.
absolutely.
When I said I had that, like, just crazy idea in my head about offering, whatever, citizenship for work.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong. I was just saying you'd have to think of something radical even right now at this point is what the point I was trying to make. We need to think of a radical idea to get people into the trades.
Right.
And I don't think we can wait any longer. Like, researching this pushed me from having concerns about how things were going to, I think it's time for me to figure out some ways to maybe get actively involved in changing this.
You and me both.
I
don't know if that means trying to attend job fairs in high school, because it starts with the kids in high school.
I believe I'm going to start doing that myself and try to recruit some other people. I think this is a problem, and I don't think it's going to change unless people... I don't think me saying it needs to change is going to do anything.
Yeah.
I'm convinced enough that maybe it's time to start making some changes.
And maybe you'll see the ice shower after work podcast at a career fair or two.
Listen, I would... man, I hope we can set that up. I know you were speaking to the head of one of the local trade schools recently, so we're hoping to have them on
Yep.
coming up shortly here too. That would be a real interesting conversation, because I suspect he'll have some great insights on what they're doing
Right.
to solve the exact problems we're talking about.
Yeah, and I hate to assume, and I'm not going to go down the line of assuming what they could be doing or
Right.
whatnot, but I hope.
No, I'm
hope
sure
it's something.
I'm sure they're actively doing things. They have conversations like this, I would suspect, on a weekly basis. Like,
And I hope it's not just in trade schools, right? I hope it's not just in trade school. I would hope that they're trying to get into the high school level,
yes.
not the universities, but the high school level
high
kids.
school level kids.
Because at the end of the day, I don't know about you, man, and I think I do actually, but my own personal opinion, you don't need trade school to do our job.
No, you don't need trade school. No. It's for a lot of people, it's just a kickstart into understanding how it'll be on a construction site.
Yeah, and barely that, because
Right.
you're looking at a book.
Yeah, like you get a little bit of hands-on training, right?
Right.
It's certainly not mandatory, no. Can it be helpful for some people? Absolutely it can.
You went to Dunwoody?
Yep.
Right? I did not go to any trade school for this. I learned by getting my ass chewed at.
I learned some skills during my schooling that certainly helped in my trade. Was the vast majority of what I learned in trade school, the one that I went to, not necessary for what I'm doing now? A lot of it was.
We forget a lot of it. We forget a lot.
Oh, I forget, sure, but some of it was just simply unnecessary.
Right.
Like trying to charge you for a few more courses when, like, I had people that I knew that had gone to another local trade school who got out of their same 2 years with less than a third of the cost.
Yeah. Yep.
Got into the same local I did.
Yeah, that's why I fucking don't preach school, university, because they're just businesses.
Even a lot of the trade schools can be, but the cost is less, the time commitment is less, and when you walk out of there, unfortunately, most of the trades have their own JETC, like we have with the electrical, their trade school. Right. I mean, you got to learn actual skills there.
Right. I would love to see to make full circle back to what you brought up, the radical idea. I don't think, honestly, the way that you said it, 4 years documented work for citizenship, dude, that is not that far out there.
Look, I'm not trying to get on the news or anything, right? I'm just saying radical ideas might need to be considered.
Look, we both have worked with a lot of immigrants.
Yeah, certainly.
A lot. And there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I do have a problem with something they did on the job site this last time, and they could clean up their shit a little bit, but...
Yeah, that's about them, though, not their ethnicity.
Right. Nothing to do with... Yeah. No, that's just shit humans. Right. But they're skilled, just like we are.
Right.
They're skilled in their trades. And God damn it, we could use them.
If people are as... Again...
I could stand a little less mariachi music.
You know what, though, man? Maybe that's all. Maybe that's in us. Maybe we just got to get a little culture barrier going. Pay them a little more Dr. Dre or, you know what I mean? Kenny Chesney or whatever. Maybe that's on us for not trying to get them to more barbecues and shit.
Yeah, maybe.
Culturally. We can fix that culturally.
Yeah, but culturally, they got some really good food.
Priority food. And, man, I know we just kind of generically got around to which ethnic group we were talking about there. Kind of. The mariachi music kind of fucked that up. But no, man.
I'm totally okay with saying it. There is more Mexicans on the job site now than there ever has been. And it's great.
Dude, I've said for years, I don't give a flying fuck where you were born or how you grew up.
Nope.
Show up for work.
Show up for work. Do your job. Don't fuck off and don't fuck anybody else and don't be a dick human.
And which is not, in my experience, I'm not generalizing at all, but all of the other immigrants to this country, along with myself, who I've seen on job sites, I've never seen one of them being a slack ass worker. And I mean not one time.
Not fucking one. Not one.
Not one time. Have I ever said, look at that guy fucking standing there, and that guy's last name was I don't know, let's say Ramirez, for example. That never happened.
It could be Abu Dhabi. I don't fucking care.
Right, I don't give a fuck, right?
They've never. Yeah. Nope.
I'll work with anybody if you work. I don't give a shit at all.
Yep. Come in, do your job, give an honest date. Right. And I think that's what kids coming up in the country are. God damn it, man. They got options, right? They've got so many more options now. And I hate to be the dude that says this. I'm probably going to get some shit for this, but I'm going to say it because I have kids. The social media aspect of how this has gone and the options that the kids have on YouTube, on Twitch, on you name it, whatever platform that
the ones on. We don't even know about because we were too
right
hip or whatever, right? Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's options for them to try now. How do we steer them away from being able to sit in their bedrooms and make a video to coming out on a job site and being like, hey, strap on that 20-pound tool belt, climb that fucking ladder and get that fucker done? How do we convince them that it's better to do what we do than to what they can do?
It is, in my opinion, a incredibly hard thing to even start thinking about, buddy. Because I have, over the time we've done the podcast, this exact question you just asked. I only have knowledge of kids that are related to me, nieces, nephews, stuff like that, right? And kids' friends, obviously. I don't have my own, so my perspective is skewed. I'm willing to admit that. A complete cultural change that needs to start today.
Right.
Of a lot of parents being honest with their kids. Listen, I think every kid has a chance to be smart enough to go to college, university, whatever, if that's what you want and you apply yourself, okay?
Yep.
Most kids. But then there's a lot of people who, not because they can't go to university, but for all the reasons we've talked about of not racking up a bunch of debt and don't mind working for a living and can make a good career in construction. You can't have that conversation with your kids too? I mean, for fuck's sakes. And since they don't see it in high school and they don't know, wow, I'm really good at carpentry. I really like to weld. This plumbing makes a lot. People used to see that and realize that in high school and then find out, wait, I don't have to go to a bunch of college debt and I can just start making money right away?
Right.
Like, I'll do, what, I have to show up for 8 or 10 hours every day? I got to work weekends sometimes. Yeah, done.
Yeah.
They don't get the opportunity for that anymore, right?
No.
I mean,
No.
it was the same reason they used to have in a lot more schools art programs and music programs, because it was to let people who didn't have the financial resources to go and learn these things on their own to try stuff and find out, oh, wow, it turns out you're an artist. Thank God the school offered that so you could find that.
Right.
You can really play that guitar. You never would have known if not for the fact that the school board had a music. That's
Right.
why that was there. They took that away, and the same things with
Yep.
metal shop, wood shop,
Yep.
small
But
engine
goddamn-
repair.
But God damn it, they will not take football away.
No, right? Got to have a hockey team in the Midwest or you're not a school.
Right.
I know we rant about these things, but these are the problems. And if there's not a change here, maybe the radical idea shouldn't have been what I said, which was kind of have to be funny too, because I know that'll charge people up. If I was being honest with you folks, I kind of just said that because I know it's going to charge Americans up. I would be willing to give 50 cents an hour out of my salary if they told me that they were setting up a center where high school kids went 1 day a week and work with their hands. A couple days a month even. Like, I would be willing to invest in that. I would consider that investment in my future.
Yeah, I mean, even if they took the seniors and made it a requirement as part of their last trimester of their senior high school,
You got to spend 2 weeks working construction.
or just, hey, we're gonna come, we're all gonna get together in our school district and we're going to build a house for somebody.
Right. It doesn't even
What's so bad?
What's so bad about that?
What's so bad about that? What's so bad about taking a contractor that's building a house in your area and being like, hey, can I have a group of 10 seniors come onto your job site and work with the other trades?
Even simpler than that, man.
You
Anybody?
know what stops that?
Go ahead.
Liability.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure it does. Yeah. What if somebody cuts their finger? Jesus. Yeah. That's
That's what fucking stops everything.
why it's not going to change, right? No school's going to take that. No county's going to take that liability. That's the unfortunate part of it, right?
Mhm.
Because you could get people in the county. It'd be so easy. You'd have projects all the time, man. The old folks' home wants a little gazebo built around the garden.
Right.
We're going to go do that for them. Like, county pays for the material.
Yep.
Don't got to pay for no labor. Get a couple professionals on site to make sure it's done properly.
Yep.
Kids swing a hammer, cut it. Nope. Can't do that.
I want to bring up this kid that's in the area that I live in. He fundraised for a gazebo in this new park that they built. Now they built a new park for it's when I say inclusive, I don't mean inclusive as you think society means inclusive right now. Inclusive as in a park for allow disabled kids to play in a park.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. You see that around sometimes, yeah.
So he fundraised to build a gazebo sitting area there. He fundraised for all the concrete. He poured the concrete himself and finished it. He's now just about there to finish off fundraising to build the wood structure, and he's building it himself. Those are the kinds of things that we need to actually push in communities. Like, hey, you know what? Take your park, build a gazebo, build a shelter, build a place to sit down and eat some food, have a barbecue, shit like that.
You know what? You just had something cross my mind that maybe we just figured something out here, dude. What if, because we've agreed that the access to schools, high schools specifically, is an issue, right?
Yep. They are now.
Maybe you got to take that onus off of them. Maybe we got to consider that ship lost.
Maybe.
If we set up programs in communities and advertise it so the parents can then be the one to go, hey, look, Sally can go over to the fucking whatever on Saturday because they're building whatever.
Yep.
And be with professionals and learn and try to. Maybe it's got to be more, I guess grassroots would be as good a word as any.
Right.
If the schools ain't going to take that responsibility no more because everybody's terrified of getting sued, and parents probably don't want it because they don't want their kid hurt. They're worried their kid's going to get hurt in some way, right? Okay.
Right.
I understand the position. I don't agree, but I understand. maybe we take it out of their hands altogether and let the parents who would be okay with that, because I'm sure there's some of those.
I'm
Right.
raising
John
my fucking
waving his
hand.
right? Maybe
Right.
maybe it's got to be more grassroots to get back on track here. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah. The closest things that I know that my girls saw in construction in high school was for the drama department in the plays, because we built the sets.
Sure.
And so I would go there on the weekend and help build a set. I'd bring all my tools, and kids would be running saws and running drills. And oh my God, it was like chasing cats, but still.
And in my opinion, it's the way it should be. But
Right.
This is exactly what we're talking about. More of that.
Hey, Timmy, don't cut your goddamn finger off.
Yeah. Yeah. The glasses aren't on your head to look cool, dickhead. Put
Right.
them on. And
Put them
again,
on your face.
right. Yeah. Hopefully, dude, there can be some changes made. If anybody out there has any ideas, obviously reach out and tell us. Maybe you know of programs like this that are going on that we can promote.
Right.
If there's something that's exactly what we're talking about or even close here, like something you think is good, let us know. Reach out on all the socials and just hook us up. Like we'll be happy to push anything that sounds like it's pushing our agenda here, because our agenda is the success and future of construction.
Yeah, getting people in, getting people to understand that construction work is not a horrible thing. Having pride in something that you've worked on is great.
And crucial for
Right.
the future of any country, not just this one.
Yeah, we are the backbone of America. I don't care what anybody says. You wouldn't have a country without construction. We have to build in order to progress.
Right. Maintain, fix. We keep,
Right.
like we say it every week, right? It's our motto,
It's our motto.
right? Your work keeps the world working.
Yep.
We don't say because it's cute and clever. It's
No.
true.
It's the facts.
Right.
Right. And now I did want to bring up, so I found something for our area. I don't know if people's, and we haven't really talked about it, but we are in the Midwest. We are in the upper Midwest.
Yeah, we're in the upper Midwest. folks.
Upper Midwest.
Minnesota. We're recording in Minnesota.
We are in Minnesota. So I found some really cool things that are actually dialed in Minnesota.
They laid on me, man.
Okay. So construction, residential and non-residential, employed 7.9 million workers in July of 2023. Okay.
I like hearing that number.
Right. That is an increase of 198,000 from the previous year.
So almost 20%.
Almost 20%.
That's pretty good.
Right. So
Wait, what was your first number? Sorry, I don't want to get the math wrong.
it's 7.9 million
And then it increased
by 198,000. So almost 200K.
That's great. Okay, I know my percentage was off by a decimal point there. Sorry, folks. Continue, John.
Right. Jason's way better at breaking that down.
I don't want to hear shit because I fucked the math up. It's more like 2%. But anyways,
Right.
go ahead.
But anyway,
That's great.
it's not bad. So 2.5% from July 2022, an increase of 4.8% from February of 2020, the peak pre-pandemic month. Right?
I like things moving in the right direction. That's
So-
a positive note, buddy.
It is showing we are recovering, right? We are coming back. Now, for God's sakes, I wish it didn't take so fucking long, right? So construction employment in Minnesota in July of 2023 totaled 137,100, an increase of 2,300, 1.7% from February of 2023. So from February to July of 2023, that was the increase.
That's a healthy increase.
That's a healthy 1.7%. Yeah, you sit there and think, oh, well, that's only 1.7. No, that's actually that's substantial.
Could have been a loss.
Yeah, right. So 2022, an increase of 9,000 or 7% from February of 2020. Right. So February of 2020, we're up 7%. So that's outside. That's post pandemic.
Right, but it hadn't really kicked us in the ass yet, so
Right.
we knew it was happening, but it hadn't.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
So from the beginning of the pandemic till coming out of it, we've had an increase of 7%, which
Can't
thank
argue
God
that.
for that. Right.
That's something anyway.
And that's employment. That's, and they call it seasonally adjusted, which I didn't really understand what they meant by seasonally adjusted. But anyway,
I tripped across the word seasonally adjusted while I was researching this too. It was so confusing. We're going to leave it out entirely. Keep going, my friend.
right. So, but we're still having problems. Contractors are still reporting that they're having problems filling positions. 85% of construction firms are reporting that same thing. 85% of construction firms in Minnesota are reporting they're having problems filling positions.
Yeah, I found I found a number as high as 91.
Yep.
And that was locally. That was local Midwest.
Right.
So, I mean, man, I'm glad to hear you say some positive stuff because I didn't want this to be all doom and gloom. I'm glad there's some positives that you found.
Right.
That's important.
Right.
It sounds like we're at a good point to stop this one here. We could spin up on this one. This could be like the drugs and alcohol episode. We could go forever here,
We
folks,
could go forever,
right?
but yeah.
Yeah. So if you're out there, please let us know if you've got anything to weigh in on this. This was less fun and a little more serious today. I'm glad John and I had a chance to talk about it, though. Did we get to everything you want to get to, buddy?
Yeah, we touched the base on pretty much everything. I had some other things, but no, we are really good.
We'll circle
Actually,
back.
We're going to be having more talks about this.
We're definitely going to be having more talks about this. Hopefully in a better light going forward as things go on.
Right.
Let them know where they can get a hold of us if they do want to send us some information about this, John.
Yeah, so I want you guys to I'm going to first and foremost rate, review, and subscribe on all the platforms that you can reach us at. We're on anything that you really want to see, all the major ones. Send us an email, isawpodcast@gmail.com. We have a great new feature.
Yes, I'm excited about
Great new feature. So you can text us directly. Text us. Oh my God. 507-607-ISAW. All right. So send us those texts. Let us know what you got going on. Get over to our website, isawpodcast.com, and sign up for our newsletter, sign up for our email blast, and our text string. So that gives us access and allows us to actually text you back. You have to opt into that. It's a whole regulation thing. But hit us up on Instagram at isawpodcast. Send us your DMs, send us your cool pictures, stuff like that. But other than that, man, I want everybody just to have a good week and safe week.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for. Thank you very much, Sean. Thanks, everybody, for listening at least one more time. And, I just want to reiterate, reach out. The technology team of the podcast here did a lot to set this up. So 507-607-ISAW, that's 4729. 507-607-4729. Sláinte, buddy. And
Sláinte,
I know we
brother.
said it a little earlier, but we do like to finish every time. Your work keeps the world working. Thanks for listening.